Well, Mossy, Crabbie's changing room chat once again, this week joined by the legend that is Jason White ahead of the 2000 Calcutta Cup match. Your first cap, Jace? Fond memory?
It sure was, yeah. What a first cap to get. To play England, and we obviously won. And then caps number 2 and 3 were against New Zealand in,
right.
I think, Dunedin and then Auckland, where things didn't go quite as favourably.
Well, I don't know, Mossy, it was about your fifth cap you were saying earlier on. Jace, I don't know how your memory is on games or even the build-up to games, but Mossy's an expert on all things. So take us in, Kat, to build us a picture of what had happened during that.
Yeah, well, it was the first ever Six Nations Championship. So the Italians came in after 99 when Scotland obviously won the Five Nations Championship. The game we watched 2 or 3 weeks back, the 99 season against Wales. So this was the first Six Nations Championship. Hadn't gone well. Scotland had lost their opening 4 games away in Italy, which was Italians' obviously first game, and then away in Ireland. I'd played for the A team in both those fixtures. Came in against France at home, which we lost. It was an improved performance. We lost away in Wales. I think it was 26-18. So 0 from 4, facing England at home when they were going for the Grand Slam. Everything against us. 2 debutants as well. Richard Metcalf, the second row, 7-foot Richard Metcalf, and Jason came in to add a bit of steel. But as I was saying before, it's funny that the last game of a Six Nations, because your training tapers down, so it must be really difficult for an individual coming in, as it was for you, Jace, to learn everything you've got to learn to be prepared for a game with fewer rugby sessions, really, in that week, with all the emotion of your first cap just...
Yeah, I think I spent every waking hour that I could trying to learn the lineouts, and that was probably the big thing. Is probably coming with a new set of calls, trying to learn them. I think my roomie was Budge Poutney, so I was lucky that I had somebody who was a little bit older, he's an experienced chap, Budge, and he probably just tried to keep me calm. And
what was the message for the coaches? Because obviously we played all the way through age grade together. I knew what he'd bring. Renowned as already on this changing room chat and podcast as being one of the hardest tacklers a lot of us had faced or played alongside, played against. Was it raw aggression? Was that the number one thing? I think it was
just Geach. I think Jim probably just grunted at me and
enough said.
and that was it. I think Geach just told me just to do what you normally did. And I remember on the night before, there was a little letter which came under the door, which was a little handwritten note from Geach saying, light up the stadium with your tackling. And then when we had the chat as a team before we left the hotel to go, and my first one, and that time was my first cap, he made a special mention about saying something about me and what it meant to win your first cap. And I didn't really sort of take in the enormity of it at the time. I was just desperate to get on the bus and to get down to the stadium.
I remember that meeting. It was at Houston House out at Blackhall near Livingston, or Broxburn, and I was actually sharing with Andy Nichol, who was captain that day, and I came back to the room after the meeting to pick up my bag, and a nice hotel chair in the corner of the room. Here's Andy sitting with his legs crossed, sort of staring out the window, and the rain just ever so slightly started, and I said, "Oh no, the rain's coming on." And Andy just kind of nodded and said, "Listen, we're going to win this." And it was funny because we hadn't won a game, but I got that feeling. I don't know if you got it as well, but just getting onto the bus, getting towards the stadium, there was something in the air, and it turned out that way.
I think the weather definitely helped us. And my standout memory is coming out of the tunnel to Highland Cathedral, and there being, in my head, it was some sort of like ticker tape coming down off the top of the stands in the West Stand, and I just remember thinking at the time, this is like, wow, this is just blown my mind. What I thought of the scenes in America when you see the ticker tape parades after somebody's won the Super Bowl, and you just remember going out there and that real feeling of feeling about as tall as big Richard Metcalf, feeling 7 foot tall, and you're ready just to take on anybody, and singing Flower of Scotland for the very first time was, that was really special. Looking at the England team sheet, they've got that back row of Hill Delalio back, Simon Shaw, Gareth Archer, Phil Vickery, Phil Green and Jason Leonard. So we're up against a tough pack, and I think the majority of the times you look at Scotland versus England, looking at the matchups, most of the time you would say that England have got the stronger pack. But the number of times I was lucky in my career that we beat them 3 times the full internationals, and that's about the collective, and it's definitely the Murrayfield factor and the extra support we get from the crowd.
Jace, you mentioned getting up from each ruck and going to hit the next one. One memorable ruck. I mean, I was watching the game. I was in a crowd watching the game. I remember seeing it live, but also seeing the replay many times of when you came in and cleared out the ruck close to the line that allowed Hodgie to go over and score. Now, you made a decent contact with that one, and I think you were about a foot off the ground at the time as well. Does that stand out as a memory for you?
I think that was Jim's launch rucking. We had some absolutely mental drills to do the launch rucking.
We were chatting about that, Jace, with Scott Murray. We had Scotty on a few weeks ago, and he was talking exactly the same. That there was a few crazy drills to get you as low as you can.
I remember with Jim when he would come out with. We had the net was one of the ones. I remember the first time having the net. We were Scottish schoolboys with Mossy. I think the one before we went to the schoolboys tour to South Africa with Peter Phillips and Ferg Gladstone. I think Fergie was a big lump of a boy at schoolboy, and he managed to sort of clothesline himself on the net. And Crabbie found it absolutely hilarious, which was brilliant. And I'm sure Jim would have had the net out, or he had his pole where he had to go under, and he'd be whacking you on the top. And we were great at that. Our body height was a key thing, and I think that clear out to make the space for Hodgie was, it's all about creating space, wasn't it? And I'm not sure how it would go with the rules nowadays, but make a bit of space.
As an assist.
Jason, sometimes thrown out there that we as Scotsmen take the English game too seriously and it's too big. Where do you stand with that? You've clearly got great memories of the games you were involved in, but do you think at times there's too much emphasis put on it?
I think it's the press and the journalists. There's always loads of chat about the English players being too arrogant or being obnoxious, and I think that just comes across as they want to win. So when I was growing up, the guys who were always arrogant and obnoxious, you could label Will Carling and Delalio being like that a little bit, but I think all it was is their desire to win. And having played against both of you for the various club teams and stuff, I know that you're always desperate to win, and I think that's what it was. And the English guys are all decent, and I think it's more the crowd who go bananas, isn't it? So it's not the players, it's the fans, and I love it. And I think I think those rivalries are so important in sport, and it's what makes the Calcutta Cup such a great spectacle.
Give us a bit of insight into what you're doing now, Jace, and some of the young lads you've got coming through. Yeah,
so I'm now working in education. So I work at an independent school out in Musselburgh called Loreto. We've had some good kids come through Loreto. We've had George Taylor, who's in with Edinburgh, had a really great year. He's done really well. We've got some really cracking hockey players, and then the people who've left school in the last couple of years, like Nathan Sweeney, who I think has probably played for Scotland under 18.
He played under 18s last year, Southern Knights this year as well.
Yeah, so Nathan came through, really good player, and then two other really good players, Kyle McGee at scrum half and Robbie McCallum in the centre. So Robbie was a really talented cricketer. I think he initially came to the school on a cricket scholarship and then showed that he's a really outstanding centre and a really good kid. I think is the other important thing to say. And Kyle at scrum half, local boy from Musselburgh, we're a small school. So it's co-ed, and I think there's 370 pupils in the senior school. So there's an advantage and a disadvantage to that compared to some of the big Edinburgh schools have got over 1,000 pupils. Disadvantage is you don't have many kids you lose an injury to one of your better players, there's nobody else to come in. But the upside is you get to work with those pupils a lot. So we won the Scottish under-18 boys hockey final this year just before lockdown. So that was a big feather in the cap for the school. And
are you doing a lot of on-field rugby coaching, or is it just a mixture of all sports?
So I took the under-15 team this year we just do it in term, so just for the autumn term. So
then you put them under the net, Jace?
Oh no, I'm thinking about that. Now. You've maybe sparked a few memories for me here. I don't know if I'll get the net or I'll just get a broomstick out or something.
Well, Jason, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on ahead of the Calcutta Cup match. Just Friday, 7 o'clock, your first cap back in 2000. Great to get some insight into the memories of that game as well as what you're doing now. Thanks very much for coming on.
Enjoyed it, fellas. Thanks.
Thanks, Jace.